And talking about security, I know compliance is a subject that you cover a lot. How does that relate to enterprise apps?
I do. Well, I think again, if you're specifically if you're talking about the cloud, that still is kind of one of the bugaboos for organizations, particularly those in really heavily regulated industries like healthcare and financial services. And they just want to make sure that they're going to fulfill all their regulatory requirements. And unfortunately, sometimes with software as a service providers, their terms can be a bit ambiguous. And it's really important that you just vet the heck out of your vendors. You want to always insist on things like an annual audit by a third party. If you have specific requirements that you must meet, like HIPAA, you need to make sure that's addressed in your audit. It's always a good chance to do an on-site visit if that's at all possible. You should insist on best practices like data encryption. Even if that isn't specifically required, you need to look for providers that will go above and beyond the basic requirements. It's a good idea if you are working in a specific vertical to look for providers that have familiarity and experience working with those verticals. So it's just something that needs to be top of mind because, again, you're sort of entrusting part of your business to a third-party provider, and you want to make sure that third-party provider keep you, won't get you in any regulatory problems and will help you fulfill your requirements.
Eileen, your sense of the role of shadow IT in enterprise applications?
Yeah, it's become a huge issue in the enterprise, and IT's been fighting it for a while now, and I think they're finally starting to realize that it's got to be cooperative. You can't beat it down. So what you want to do is try and work with them to control it. In the case of cloud, if IT's finding a cloud vendor, they're going to really look into it very carefully. If they're looking into apps, they're going to check it out. But if you have a marketing department or sales department, may not have the technical expertise or know what to look for in an app or a cloud vendor. In fact, in the Quinn Street survey, one of the things that came up was the fact that when they were working together, they can decide that IT realizes that the line of business users should be deciding what apps they want, but IT should be involved in evaluating them and acquiring them so that you can make sure that all these security issues are taken care of as well as all the administrative stuff that goes into it.
Chris, what do you see out in the field in terms of shadow IT? Is it the great bugaboo out there, or people kind of dealt with it these days?
No, Eileen's right. It's definitely a huge problem for IT because they don't have control. And the more and more control, as we know, of IT is going into non-IT hands, whether it's the marketing department, whether it's the financial HR department, because of the agility and the easy access of cloud apps. People are doing their own thing a lot. IT has lost control of this. Shadow IT is part of it. And shadow IT means, if you're not hooked up with Salesforce, but your individuals, salespeople have their own Salesforce accounts, for example, they're keeping track of their accounts in something that's not within the corporate realm, and that's shadow IT. And again, some of those numbers, some of that money, perhaps is not being accounted for by IT and by the company itself. It can get really worrisome. And to go up and for an IT person or somebody in line of business to go up and do a workaround to solve a problem that the company doesn't have available in its own app store, so to speak, it's just becoming more and more common. And some real issues can come out of that, and most of the issues are security related.